Let me tell you a story of a man who believed he was tired because he slept too little, when in truth, he was tired because he lived without direction. His name was Ariv, and for years he thought he had a problem. No matter how many hours he slept, he woke up exhausted. 8 hours, 9 hours, even 10 hours on weekends, yet every morning he dragged himself out of bed feeling like he hadn't rested at all. His alarm felt like an enemy. His mornings felt like punishment. He convinced himself he simply wasn't a morning person, and that some people were meant to wake up early while others were meant to hit snooze forever. But everything changed the day he saw something that shocked him. One night, while lying half asleep on his bed, he picked up his phone only to find that he had spent nearly 4 hours scrolling through social media that day. 4 hours lost to nothing. 4 hours he claimed he never had. 4 hours spent on other people's lives while his own dreams collected dust. That moment hit him harder than any alarm ever could. He realized that he wasn't exhausted because of a lack of sleep. He was exhausted because of the way he was living. He didn't have a sleep problem. He had a life management problem. That night, sitting alone in his dimly lit room, he made a decision, not a dramatic, life-changing vow, just a small promise to himself. He said, "Tomorrow, I will wake up early. I will try, even if it hurts." But this time, something was different. For the first time, he wasn't trying to wake up early out of guilt or pressure. He wanted to prove to himself that he could change. He wanted to see who he could become if he stopped hiding behind excuses. He set his alarm for 5 a.m. And then, with a sudden burst of determination, he changed it again, to 4:55 a.m. He didn't know why, but inside him something whispered, "Beat the alarm. Don't just wake up early, wake up victorious." Before going to sleep, he did something he had never done before. He put his phone across the room. He cleaned the clutter from his bed. He turned off the bright overhead lights and switched to a soft warm lamp. He sat quietly and breathed slowly. For the first time in years, he allowed his mind to slow down before his body shut down. And that night, he slept only 5 hours, but they were the cleanest 5 hours of sleep he had ever experienced. When the alarm rang the next morning, the sound was sharp. But his mind, surprisingly, wasn't. He didn't feel fresh. He didn't feel powerful. But he felt awake. Awake enough to stand. And that was enough. He stepped out of bed, walked to his window, and opened it. Cold morning air rushed into the room and touched his face like truth itself. For the first time in years, he heard something he had forgotten existed. Silence. Not loneliness, not emptiness, pure silence. A silence that made him feel like he finally had space to think, space to be, space to breathe. He stood there, staring at the sky slowly changing colors. The world was quiet, but inside that quietness there was power. He felt alive, even though he had slept less than usual. And he wondered, is it possible that I've been sleeping too much and living too little? That morning, he drank a glass of cold water, stretched his back, and took in long, deliberate breaths. He didn't rush. He didn't check his phone. He just let himself exist without noise. As the days passed, something incredible began to happen. He continued waking up early, sometimes on 5 hours of sleep, sometimes on 6. But instead of feeling tired, he felt sharper. His thoughts were clearer. His mood was lighter. His day felt longer, and not in a draining way, but in a fulfilling way. He realized something profound that changed his life completely. It wasn't the number of hours he slept that determined his energy. It was the quality of his sleep, the state of his mind before bedtime, and the purpose he woke up for. He discovered that his old exhausted mornings weren't caused by sleep deprivation, they were caused by mental clutter. Stress, overthinking, endless scrolling, unfinished tasks. His brain was running marathons every night even while he lay still. But now, with intentional habits, his mind finally rested. Even 5 hours of peaceful sleep were better than 10 hours of chaotic sleep. He noticed something else too. Waking up early wasn't just about discipline, it was about identity. Every morning when he resisted the snooze button, he wasn't just waking up, he was choosing the person he wanted to become. A stronger version. A more focused version. A version of himself that didn't hide from the day but embraced it. He stopped waking up because of motivation, he woke up because of purpose. Motivation fades. Purpose doesn't. One night, after a long but satisfying day, he sat on the edge of his bed and reflected on how far he had come. In only a few weeks, people around him started asking him how he looked so energized while sleeping so little. They asked what new diet he was following, what supplements he was taking, what secret routine he had discovered. And he just smiled. Because the truth was simple. He hadn't reduced sleep. He had reduced distractions. He hadn't increased effort. He had increased purpose. He hadn't changed his nights. He had changed his life. What he learned became his new truth: the body doesn't wake tired, the mind wakes tired. And when the mind is tired, no amount of sleep can fix it. But when the mind is clear, even a few hours of sleep are enough to rise with strength. He realized that people don't fail to wake up early because they sleep too little. They fail because they don't have a reason strong enough to rise. Every morning, as he stood by the window watching the sun rise, he felt a sense of pride he had never felt before. Not because he woke up early, but because he kept a promise to himself. A promise that told him he was capable. A promise that told him he was changing. A promise that told him he was no longer living as a spectator of his own life. Over time, waking up early became effortless. His alarm became unnecessary. His mornings became sacred. And he discovered the ultimate truth: waking up fresh is not a gift, it is a lifestyle. It is created by the nights you protect, the habits you build, and the purpose you follow. He learned that sleep is not about escaping the day, it is about preparing for the next one. And life becomes extraordinary the moment you stop living in default mode and start living in deliberate mode. This is not a story about sleeping less. This is a story about living more. A story about a man who realized that the morning is not a punishment, it is an opportunity. And if you value your future more than your temporary comfort, you will rise. Not tired. Not drained. Not defeated. But fresh. Focused. And full of life. And maybe, tomorrow morning, when your alarm rings, you will remember Arif. And you will remember that waking up early is not about the hour on the clock, it's about the strength in your heart. And maybe, just maybe, you will rise too.